It just doesn't stop. Racism, sexism, morality. It is unending, these WNBA folk. Collier's going to lecture us on George Floyd. It can't just do what it should be doing, which is play basketball, build your brand. You go to basketball games to get away from that crap. She, nor the Lynx, nor the WNBA said anything. The absurdity never stops, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't stop. I mean, we cannot get through a week of WNBA action without hearing something about, I don't know, racism, sexism, morality. Now, George Floyd. George Floyd, who famously died at the hands of the police, is being honored. Now, if you know anything about George Floyd, you know that honoring George Floyd isn't exactly the best thing if you dig into who George Floyd actually was, not the media portrayal. But the insufferable idiots of the WNBA really did this. They really took a moment prior to the Minnesota Lynx Connecticut Sun game to hold a moment of silence for George Floyd, with Nep Hessa Collier grabbing a microphone after and lecturing to the crowd that his 5-year anniversary reminds us that we want to continue to fight against criminal, racial, and social injustices. Predictably, the WNBA did not offer up condolences to the thousands of men and women whose lives and businesses were destroyed in the wake of the riots that had the city of Indianapolis looking like a war zone. Also, I don't believe, maybe they did, have a moment of silence for those who lost their lives in the war. I assume they did. That's what Memorial Day was all about. It wasn't about anything other than that. But Napanisa, whatever the hell her name is, Collier, is going to lecture us on George Floyd. All right. Lecture away, lady. Go get him. It is unending, these WNBA folk. It is unending, this WNBA league. It can't just do what it should be doing, which is play basketball, build your brand, and don't lecture us on a career criminal dying. I mean, don't even give me the numbers. I'll give you one interesting number, and I understand it's pure population, but percent of white Americans killed by police, 3%. Percent of black Americans, 1%. White men are killed 3 times as frequently as black men, if you look at the statistics. If we're going to celebrate something or stop something, you guys know the deal. We need to stop black-on-black murder, black-on-black crime. We all know that, but everybody's afraid to say that. That's where we really need to focus our attention, not on some media made-up myth. I'm not even going to get into autopsies or things of that nature. It is just simply ridiculous. Here's Collier lecturing the crowd about George Floyd.
Thank you guys for taking a minute to honor the life of George Floyd. George was a father, a brother, and a son. And his life, like every life, held meaning. His death exposed the holes that are still in our justice and criminal institutions today. And his 5-year anniversary reminds us that we must continue the fight against criminal, racial, and social injustices. We cannot stay silent. Every life deserves respect and dignity. Thank you.
I can't take that serious. I simply can't. I know you can, and I know you want to get mad at me for not taking it serious. I just can't. Let me ask you a question. She, nor the Lynx, nor the WNBA said anything. Did not address the hundreds of businesses, the lives that were ruined during the riots that took place across Minneapolis and the nation in the days that followed Floyd's death either. She didn't even talk about the military members that died defending us so that we can have tomorrows. They didn't get tomorrows, those military folk. That's what Memorial Day is about, not a career criminal dying. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. And the WNBA now has a serious problem as Caitlin Clark's out for a couple of weeks with a quad. Yeah, it's a serious problem. And they are riding a wave of Caitlin Clark. And they think because of that wave, they can get away with anything. Look, I don't know about you, and I understand people cheered and good for them. But if you're cheering that, and not recognizing veterans, not veterans, people that died fighting in wars, people that died protecting us, people that died saving us, then you are on the wrong effing path. But that's what the WNBA does. The WNBA stays on the wrong effing path. Fans pay for tickets to go enjoy basketball games and escape from real-life drama for a couple hours. Nah, they don't go to be reminded about George Floyd's death and be lectured about how great a person he was and how racist our society and criminal justice systems are. Au contraire. People go to basketball games to do exactly what Mark Harris wrote here. You go to basketball games to get away from that crap. You want to go to a rally? Napisha Collier? Fine. But you know what? Maybe the WNBA fan doesn't. By the way, speaking of WNBA fans, what has ever become of that, quote, investigation into the racial slurs that were apparently hurled at Angel Reese? I'll tell you exactly what's become of that. The WNBA, the Fever, they're all huddling together to see how they can get out from under this. What is this? The threat of being called racist for not punishing somebody, for not making somebody the freaking face of that racism. The problem is they have no evidence at all. And now, instead of figuring out what, why, and how to solve a problem, they realize they never had a problem. They got duped again by a lying organization and a lying player in Angel Reese. And now you got to try to get out from under it. Advice to you, WNBA, just tell the truth. We investigated. Ain't nothing here. Move it along. And if you want to add to it, you add 8. And we don't condone lying about our fans. So, Chicago Sky, Angel Reese, do better. But sitting there in the middle, George Floyd, yay, rah. The one thing you did notice in that video, or at least I did notice, was there's a lot of empty seats, and that ain't changing. Here's the cost of the George Floyd riots. In fact, I said this the other day, and people agreed. I caught no hell for this. Sunday, Pacers, Racers, the Indy 500 and the Pacers game, best day in Indy post-riots, and we had that right there. Total cost of the riots to Minneapolis, St. Paul, $500 million. Total property damage, 1,500. More than 1,500 properties attacked and damaged, with nearly 100 properties being completely destroyed. 164 structure fires as a result of arson attacks, including the city's 3rd police district. 60% of the financial loss as a result of the rioters were uninsured. And to make it even worse, Walz's wife, that crazy-ass woman, I don't even know her name, Tim Walz is the governor, Tampon Tim, she said how much she enjoyed the smell of burning. She enjoyed the smell of the town burning down, of rubber burning, of riots is what she enjoyed. Now, how ridiculous is that? You know, we talk about people being backwards. You know, we always talk about, well, this backward third world country. Well, when your governor's wife wants to sit there and say to the American people, boy, oh boy, did I enjoy the smell of the largest city in our state burning, then you're not really for the people of the people. You're against the people. You simply are. And if you don't understand that, you're as dumb as we think you are. 5 years after the George Floyd death, one thing that should be looked at is simply this. What's real? Do those officers deserve to go to prison? I have no idea. Were they just pawns for people in the media not to be called racist? I don't know. I have no idea. But that's what should be looked at. And if they are responsible, then they should be where they're at. If they're not responsible, then they shouldn't be where they're at. Let's treat everybody the same regardless of the pandemonium that the media sparks. Let's treat everybody the same. Everybody. Now, maybe that's a foreign concept. Certainly was a few years ago. Certainly was 5 years ago. But let's try it. You know, we've all realized what a bullshit time that was with BLM and Me Too. You know, one of the things I've always said about Me Too was, where were the feminists? Where are they now? Why did that end? Why, when Caitlin Clark is being crushed, why isn't somebody stepping up? That's in the workplace too. I don't know. Maybe we've come to common sense. Maybe we look back and see, wait a second. Black Lives Matter, the people that ran this nonprofit got richer than hell off it, built mansions, bought mansions. Wait, what's real? How about we start doing that and stop being afraid? Hey, I know you're enjoying the show. Of course you are. Make sure you head over to youtube.com/@OutKick/videos to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you will never, ever, ever miss any of this great content. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn, ladies and gentlemen? ESPN is back at it again, plowing through. Wait a second. ESPN is back at it again as a man plowed through. Listen to this. Listen to this. A man plowed through a crowd of people. Thousands of Liverpool soccer fans were celebrating being crowned champs of the Premier League. In an eerily similar fashion to the terrorist attack that occurred in New Orleans prior to the Super Bowl, yet ESPN and the fake news media continue to seemingly blame the car. They're blaming the car for the incident. What has our world, our media come to that we can't blame the person driving the car? Why? I go back to this. How about we just treat people fairly and equally? Not equal but special. Not equal but the media, well, we don't want to. Why don't we do that? Here's a screenshot of various news organizations framing the moment as a car drives into crowds. A man has been detained after a car collided with pedestrians in the Liverpool City Center during Liverpool Football Club's Premier League victory parade Monday. A car. During the New Orleans attacks, here's what Clay had to say. I hate when trucks kill people instead of saying the guy killed people. We just don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't ever. Superdome gets security sweep after truck attack. Really? A truck attack. I hate when trucks kill people. That's what makes you crazy, right? That's what makes you absolutely crazy about our media. We're sitting there and we know. You can see the others right there. We know the deal. We know what happened. A crazed lunatic sociopath got into a truck and tried to run over and kill people, and he did. But somehow, some way, we talk about it like it's a random truck going on its own. Why? Because we don't want to identify who was in the truck. Because, well, that's racist. That's hate speech. Let me tell you what's the hate. The hate is when a truck runs into a crowd and kills people. The hate is the person driving the truck. Period. That's where the hate. A truck is just built on an assembly line. Some guy working for the United Auto Workers, down the line, we put it together. Contrary to the world we live in, a truck has no feelings, good, bad, happy, or sad. You can name it Mabel, like my grade school coach did, and we all liked Mabel the car, but it didn't have feelings. Can you imagine how stupid this conversation is right now? Right now. It's unbelievable that we can't just say, you know what? I don't know. Was it a white truck? I mean, if it's a white truck, we got to talk about it. Can you imagine, like, if a middle-aged dude like me lost my mind completely and decided taking trucks and running through stuff? White middle-aged man, as opposed to a truck. It would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. And it is so tragic. You go there, you celebrate. Think about it. You go there, you're celebrating. You're playing. Hey, man, we won. Yay, we got our scarves. We're cheering. All of a sudden, people are dead all around you, or you're dead, or your loved one's dead. It's insane to me. It's an absolute sanity to me. It's crazy. Crazy. College football writer and noted coach killer Stuart Mandel is pissed with the proposed new format changes that are coming to college football and the playoffs. Somebody's always got to be pissed. Like, if you just said, hey, that's a pretty good idea, no one would talk about you. All right, stating the proposed changes are a cockamamie scheme and the brainchild of Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti. All right. No major U.S. sport holds a postseason where certain divisions or conferences are guaranteed more berths than the other. He's right. The hubris of the Big Ten and SEC to even propose this, much less go forward with it, is astonishing even by the Big Ten and SEC standards. Nearly everyone The Athletic has spoken to about this subject over the past few months says this entire cockamamie scheme is the brainchild of Tony Petitti. Well, it's either him or Sankey. We want 8. We want 6. We want 4. We want to give you 1, maybe 2. Or else we'll bust away. We'll go elsewhere. We'll break off. All right. Well, I can't emphasize enough how much damage a predetermined nonsensical bracket will cause for not just the college football's credibility, but college football's popularity. It will not bring in new fans, and it will turn off many of the current ones. Not to mention, it will incur scrutiny from politicians and antitrust lawyers alarmed to see 2 conferences colluding to rig a national tournament in their favor. All right. Let me address a couple of those things. The last part I don't know about. I would have to find an antitrust attorney. I would have to find a guy that knows more about the law than I do, or certainly knows about the law more than Stuart Mandel does. But I would be interested in finding out if this is going to be some antitrust violation. I disagree with the popularity, though. I do. I don't think anybody was all that enthralled with Boise State last year. I think we act like we are, and we want them to win. I think people did get enthralled by Indiana, but Indiana's a Big Ten school. I mean, there are underdogs, and then there are underdogs. I don't think you're going to see anything other than the popularity of college football go up and up and up. Now, I could be wrong. You know, I've always said this, and I don't know if Colin Cowherd stole it from me, but he has said the same thing. We all want to see Mercer beat Duke in the first round. But we want to see Duke play North Carolina in the second round of the NCAA tournament. That's what we do. That's what we want to do. That's how we want to go about our business. We want to see the biggest matchup. Hey, I get it. We like seeing Boise, I guess, in the first round playing Georgia, but in the second round, give me Notre Dame, Georgia 100 times out of 100. And then I'm ready to sit down. And I think whether you like what they did or not, Petitti and Sankey, the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC, understand what they have. Look, nobody gives a rat's ass about North Carolina football until, now wait for it, until Belichick got there. Everybody told me the greatness of Mac Brown, and I'm like, nuh-uh, It was the greatness of Texas that Mac Brown helped push, prod, but Now, nobody really cared about North Carolina. Now they do. Name me an ACC school. Name me one that anybody cares about. We didn't even care enough about Miami 2 years ago to put Miami into the national championship tournament. And Miami is one of the iconic schools in this country as the growth of football really hit all across the Northwest, East, Southwest, Northeast, whatever. Miami is one of the iconic schools. Nobody cared. Nobody cared enough for them to make the tournament once their quarterback got hurt. Nobody cared, and probably rightfully so. So it'll be interesting. I agree with what Mandel said if lawyers tell me that I should agree. I don't know, but I also disagree when it comes to the fan base. I will also say this, and I will agree with Mandel on this. It doesn't feel right. Now, it really doesn't feel right. That, let's just say for the sake of argument, I don't know, some ACC team wins a bunch of non-conference games, finishes third in their league, maybe a bad loss, maybe only one loss in conference, and they get in, or they don't get in over a 4-loss Big Ten team. That wouldn't seem right. But we don't know that's going to happen. I will say this. I agree with him, and I disagree. You're right on seems bad, seems odd, optics not good. I don't know if that's going to hurt the fan base. We'll see. Hey, the unhinged lunatics of The View are getting it done. Apparently, they got confronted by Disney CEO Bob Iger and President Almin Karamanehdovic, I don't know, who instructed the radical left crazy people to tone down their anti-Trump rhetoric. along with broadening their conversation beyond its predominant focus on politics. Predictably, the crazies are not happy with the boss's orders. Here's the deal. Bob Iger, whatever the hell this Elmin, his last name is, no good deed goes unpunished. You gave these awful, ridiculous face of anal warts people a show. You made them stars. You resurrected whatever that is in Whoopi Goldberg. No good deed goes unpunished. 'Cause I've seen it for years and years and years. People go out and they say, hey, I'm a star now. I don't need to listen to you. So let's dive into what the ladies of The View had to say. This is what the audience wants. This is what the audience wants, isn't it? Look, isn't it going to be, can I start over? I can't even read today. This is what our audience wants. Isn't it going to kind of look bad if we're all of a sudden not talking about politics? One source told the Daily Beast, paraphrasing how the co-host replied to the ABC and Disney executives. Yes, it will for about a minute. And then it won't, because you ain't that important. So, Sonny, Whoopi, face of anal warts lady, Joy, if you don't, we're going to fire you. That's all I can tell you. Yes, it's going to look weird. Yes, people are going to care for about 3 shows, and then we move it forward. That's all I'm telling you. This group pushed back forcefully, with hosts like Navarro noting the show's audience routinely seeks out its perspective on politics, especially when this administration's radical attempts to upend the government can potentially affect their daily lives. Really? Really? Yeah. Well, let's see how this government has affected our daily lives. I know this. Right up here's my gas station. Prices are about 50 cents lower per gallon. I don't know about you, but that's a good thing. Played with Pete the Cop the other day. Was talking to Pete the Cop about the border, MS-13 here in Indy. Pete the Cop said it's amazing how quickly that whole thing was cleaned out. Indianapolis is a much safer city from at least that element, the criminal element of an MS-13 gang or that Venezuelan gang with 3 names. Yeah, I'm good with all that. I am. Feel like we're not going to get bombed, not drink bombed, bombed from other countries. Feels like, yeah, I'm good with that. I don't know. That's just what it feels like. Right here, I pay attention to my 401k. It's back where it was. I'm good with that. Feels like we're getting stuff done and winning. I'm good with that. So I guess if you don't want that to affect your daily life, maybe you want, I don't know, drag queens on the lawn. Maybe that helps your daily life more than lower prices. Egg prices, shoop, down. Apparently that was a big deal. Anyway, seems to me that you would want lower prices to affect your life other than letting LGTB, BBQ peeps hang out. I don't know. Seems more practical to have less wars, better pricing. 401k, stock market go. It just feels that way. Maybe I'm wrong. Here's a throwback to Chucky Schumer on The View. Here's a throwback to him mocking Americans who want to keep more of their hard-earned money. Listen to this stupidity by, I don't even know what to call this guy, Chuck Schumer.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or, I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees?
No. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody has a real problem paying taxes. I think the real problem is now that with Doge and Elon Musk, we know where that tax money goes, and we don't like it. I think particularly now, look, I'm fairly representative of the American person. Not a superstar, not any real adventure. Just kind of worked all my life, played, went to school, raised kids. And all of a sudden, about a year ago, I started reading about what Joe Biden was making, what all these politicians were making. Based on what they make, how much they are making in actuality, and it's millions. Big homes, Bernie Sanders, monster homes. And I sat there and I thought, for the first time, I don't want to pay tax. Hey, look, I understand help schools. I understand be a part of the community, help roads. I understand all that. I understand the services provided by a tax base. I do. And I've never had a problem with it. But now that I see where it goes, I'm like, hang on, caller. Where the hell is this money going? Well, it's going in their pockets, and I don't want to pay. It's even worse now. I mean, I don't care about paying for circumcisions in Mozambique or condoms to some certain nation or Sesame Street being played in some obscure country. Let them worry about putting Sesame Street on. No, I got to tell you, I ain't into it. First time ever. And I think a lot of us feel the same way. But Sir Charles, not the good Sir Charles Barkley, the other Sir Charles Schumer, don't give me that shit. What are you talking about? Don't give me that bullshit. Tell us we're mad about paying taxes. We ain't mad at paying taxes. We're mad at paying you. Hey, by the way, Sarah Haynes is a person. She's a person that is on your television, on The View. Hey, who hasn't lifted a cheek on live TV? Let's hear a fart from Sarah Haynes.
Specifics, but just real quick, I was. We had a little spillage on the other side of the table. My pants. All right, forget it. Specifics, but just real quick, I was. We had a little spillage on the other side of the table. My pants. All right, forget it.
Yeah, I've never heard or smelled my wife's fart. She is mine. Anyway, let's move it along. Women of The View, it's simple. If I'm Bob Iger, I'll get somebody else. Hell, we got rid of Hasselbeck. We got somebody else. What are you talking about? We'll get somebody else every day of the week. We'll get somebody else. And they'll be hotter and people will watch more. Hey, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Knicks and the Pacers. Hopefully tomorrow I'm wearing my Pacer jersey. I played golf with Charles Barkley yesterday, and here's the importance of – hold on. Here is what he said about the importance of this game tonight. We were talking. Said, who wins the series? He goes, Dan, I think whoever wins tonight. Pacers go up 3-1, tough hill to climb. Knicks get back in this. Now they're going home. Tough hill to climb for the Pacers. Before the game Sunday, I thought, and I actually said this, Pacers look like the better team. They got more weapons than the Knicks. And then all of a sudden, Karl Anthony Towns decided, here we go, and kicked the living crap out of the Pacers in the fourth. I've said on this show, and I believed it. I don't know if I believe it now, but it didn't feel like the Minnesota Timberwolves trusted Karl Anthony Towns, particularly defensively. Well, when you're getting 20 and a quarter, you can let defensive lapses go. But here's the thing to watch tonight. Here's the thing that happened Sunday. The Knicks were able to guard their own man. Now, that sounds silly, right? Pacers use angles. They want to move the basketball, get you on a side, get you on an angle, get into that gap, drive it, draw, kick, whatever. You know what happened? Watch this tonight. The Knicks, you won't hear this on any broadcast. The Knicks squared their shoulders to the driver. So let's say I'm guarding me in this picture. Instead of being sideways and giving an angle, I squared up my shoulders. And I move my feet just to keep you in front of me. That's all I'm doing. And when you do that, help doesn't have to help. When you do that, sides don't get overloaded. When you do that, you don't get out of defensive positioning for the offensive rebound. You just don't. And I give Reggie Miller great credit. What Reggie Miller said about the end of the half was massive. 90% of people don't understand that. People see, well, we're all going into the half up 13. No. With about 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go in the half, the Knicks did exactly what I just said. They stopped giving penetration. Also, they stopped turning the basketball over. I mean, you can't turn the basketball over like they did in the 13-2 run that the Pacers went on. So watch that tonight as you're watching it. The Pacers could not keep Karl Anthony Towns in front of them man-to-man because he kept them off balance because he hit a couple deep threes. The Knicks could. It's the biggest thing in defensive basketball. Keep the man in front of you. don't need help when guarding the dribble. And the Knicks did it spectacularly, particularly in the fourth. Last night, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went all Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I was surprised. My brother called me. He said, man, I like Gilgeous-Alexander to get over 31, and I like the Thunder to win. I said, I don't know about Gilgeous-Alexander, but I'm taking the Timberwolves. I don't know. I know they beat the crap out of OKC the game before, and you never really buy into people beating the crap out of another team 2 in a row, but I did think they would get the win there. Well, they did. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went for 40. I mean 40. Now, when you go for 40 and you're the MVP, I don't know, man. I've said this forever. It's one thing to go for 40 during the regular season, but you go for 40 in the playoffs. That's what I say about Mike Trout. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what to tell you when you go for 40 in the playoffs and you're the MVP. You start being in the discussion, I think, if you get a ring on top of it, as a young player, is he going to surpass some of the all-time greats? I'm not putting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with LeBron. I'm not putting him with Kobe. I'm not putting him with Michael. I'm not putting him with Kareem. But I am going to say this. He's a pretty good start. Not a bad start, particularly if they can get a ring, which it looks to me like is probable. I mean, they're going to get to the finals. Probable. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today on the show, we've got a couple of things. We've got a couple of things to get to, one of which is Chad Withrow. Are you tired of Aaron Rodgers yet? Let me ask you a question. You got an Aaron Rodgers documentary and you got a Brett Favre documentary. Davey, if you had to make a choice, I'm going to watch either. You couldn't watch both. I'm going to watch Brett Favre on, I think it's Netflix, or Aaron Rodgers on whatever he's on. Which doc are you doing? Which doc are you watching?
Dan, I believe the Aaron Rodgers doc is called Enigma, but as it relates to these two, I would want to watch The Fall of Favre, but I kind of base that off of I have seen a lot of the Netflix Untold documentaries, and I generally like those. I do think you're probably going to learn more watching the Favre doc than you would the Aaron Rodgers one.
Are you tired of Aaron Rodgers?
I'm tired of this persona that he puts on. I want to see him have one more go at it for football, but the off-the-field conversation, I'm tired of that.
Yeah, I mean, the smugness, I get it. We want to say that Favre fell. I had that girl Jen Sturger in my studio back when all this was going on, and she obviously didn't paint a great picture of Favre. And I know that in Mississippi he was accused of stealing money that was earmarked, I think, for COVID patients, and he ended up using it allegedly to help build a volleyball building for Southern Miss where he went to school and where his daughter played volleyball. But I think all those charges have been dropped. Like, what's the actual fall of Favre?
I haven't watched the documentary yet, Dan, but I think they also get into some of his escapades as it relates to chasing after women and stuff of that nature.
Yeah. That's why. Reason I bring that up is that's why I would want to see the fall of Favre, because I want to see, okay, what is this fall? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I know the history of Rodgers and his family. I guess he gets into that. I got into that. I understand all that, right? I get that. But I want to see. Well, all right, Favre's wife didn't leave him after all that stuff. He's not going to jail. Are you just making up a fall? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's the only reason, Davey, I would want to see the fall of Favre over Enigma if I were going to watch either.
Dan, here's what I'll do. I'll watch it tonight, and I'll report back tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be busy. I got two things. I got Zionsville softball, where my stepdaughter's an assistant coach, and I got the Pacers tonight. I'm too busy for the fall of Favre and Enigma tonight. Hey, I mentioned this earlier. Sir Charles, myself, my son, and my brother, and about half the town of Lawrence in Indianapolis had a golf match yesterday. We had our guy Ryan out there, and here's a little preview of it. Right now, here's the score. We're even, +1, even, +2, +1, and even. Sir Charles and I, where is it? Right here at the bottom. Even, down 1, even, +1. So we're even.
I got to pick it up a little bit. I really got to pick it up because this guy talks a lot of shit.
Very quiet. Don't say much. It was not a quiet match. It was not a quiet match, and I must say this. We're not going to tell you who wins because it all gets revealed on Friday. But Charles Barkley was unbelievable with kids. He was incredible with kids. He was unreal with everybody that came out. The round was over. We were having beers during the round. We were laughing. He's smoking cigars. My wife and people, my stepdaughter, her boyfriend were following us. It was just a great day. And he did every single autograph, picture, talked to everybody. People coming out of their houses along the golf course to take pictures, say hello. We made videos, probably embarrassing when you look back. Something, I don't know. I was ripping Purdue. But anyway, he could not have been more gracious. He could not have been greater. And same with my son. I'm so proud. I sent my son to go pick up Charles Barkley because I thought I had some stuff to do. But I'm like, you know what? Who's going to make Charles feel comfortable? My son, Andrew. By the time they got to the course, Barkley and Andrew were laughing. They were best of friends. It was great. So anyway, long story short, we'll air more as the week goes on, and certainly you'll find out who won this incredibly important grudge match on Friday. Hey, we'll be right back with our friend Chad Withrow coming up.